Hey friends, so today is day 4 of the 75 Hard Challenge, and I just wanted to hop on and talk to you about some thoughts that I had around just these challenge points and some interesting observations. And that is kind of this mindset around why we're doing what we're doing and how much influence our perception of it has on our actual joy of the process. So these things that I'm doing for the challenge, I had already been doing most of them, at least to some extent, maybe not as like hardcore as the challenge entails, but had already been practicing them as part of like my morning routine, my daily routine, my habits, because they brought me joy and because they kept me like functioning at my best and feeling my best and showing up in service to others at my best. And that's really why I do what I do with healthy habit coaching, is because I've seen the influence that it's had in my life to make positive changes on my spiritual, financial, social, like all these things. That's why I do what I do, and so that's why I teach what I teach. But beyond just them actually being something that benefits me and then therefore pours into others and benefits them, they bring me joy, and that's part of the process that makes it sustainable. Like, I found a way to make these habits something that I enjoy, and I choose things which bring me joy. And so, like, for example, I'm not going to do like a certain type of workout if I don't enjoy it. I will cycle through my programming once it stops being like new and fresh, and just things like that. So like, I don't eat foods that I don't enjoy. I choose to do activities and all these things because they serve me well, but also because they bring me joy. Like, I don't force myself to do any of these things. That would defeat the purpose. But what I think is very interesting is how even just in like the first few days, I've noticed that I'm not really doing much of anything different. But the fact that I quote unquote have to do it instead of choose to do it has been a little bit of, it's kind of dampened the joy a little bit. And so I'm just trying to be really intentional about that thought process. And we can control that thought process. We can reframe, anything at any time in order to help psychologically, strategically make these things more appealing and just attach positive emotions to them rather than negative. And so things like I get to or I choose to are really, really important to say instead of I have to, do XYZ. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that, because in the beginning with your healthy habits, until they really become, exciting for you in and of themselves, rather than just the results that you see of practicing them being the exciting part, right? Because at some point, like, the habits themselves become fun, not just the results. And so that's what keeps you in the game, long term. But the way that you frame the process and how you think about I get to, I choose to, is so much more important. Like, that's so much of a better way to phrase things. Whether you think about them or say them out loud, your mind and your ears are both listening, and they tell you psychologically they have an impact whether you recognize it or not. So anyhow, that's why I really recommend the imperfect but consistent approach to most of my clients, and never something like this, 100% all out, it has to be every day or we deem it a failure. Like, this challenge is really, requiring me to do a certain checklist of things for a certain number of days, and if you miss, then it's kind of over. So anyways, that's why I typically recommend the approach different to what I'm doing right now. But again, go back and watch video 1 as to why I'm doing this, and it will kind of help you to understand the purpose behind it. But I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of a personal story about how I work around this process, because we all have days where, like, I love working out. It helps me with my energy, it helps me with my mood, it helps me with my function. It just helps me with my mindset, so many things, so many benefits. I love it. I look forward to it. But there are some days where I'm just like, I just don't. I just got to make myself do it. So everybody's like that. But on those days where I don't feel like working out, I don't feel like showing up, I remember Just for example, I injured my neck several years back, and like literally for 3 days my husband had to help me get out of bed, and then there was just this year time frame where just simple things would aggravate, like even wearing my white coat in clinic, like that would hang on my neck in such a way that my arm would start to go numb. And you know, trying to balance weight training and all that, and not, you know, letting it heal was a very tedious process. And so I'm so grateful now that it rarely bothers me. And it's interesting because if I do enough exercise, it keeps it functioning at its best. You know, I found out through all this I've got a couple bulging discs there, but if I don't do enough, or if I do too much, it flares up on me. So there's a happy balance and kind of a built-in, you know, mechanism there to keep me in check. But anyways, the days where I don't feel like it, I think about, okay, well, there was a time where you couldn't do these things, so don't ever take that for granted. And it really does help with my mindset to show up and push through those days where I don't want to. Or for example, you know, we all get colds a few times a year, and it's just like, I really would like to work out, but I know my body just needs like walking today or just a rest day. And it makes you so much more grateful when you get back to it, remembering those times where you weren't able to. So just remember, you get to, you choose to. Nobody's forcing you to do this, and it just kind of helps to reframe the process. And then the other thing was, in my healthy eating journey, you know, some of you guys may know I didn't grow up eating healthy. I grew up eating junk, and lots of it. And once I got into weight training, I started to want bigger impact, and so that's when I really started doing research. Even with having a nutrition degree, trust me, you can have a lot of fallible mindsets around nutrition. So my undergraduate was in nutrition, and I still was not practicing like truly healthy nutrition habits. And so once I really started changing my diet, and you know, there's always a period of time again where you don't love the new things until your taste buds change, and then eventually you really start loving and craving. Once you start eating the healthy foods, you start craving those healthy foods, and you stop eating the other things and you try them again, and they just are not like, that's all I can explain it if you haven't experienced it. But anyhow, I went through this period of time where my thyroid, not only my thyroid, was flaring up, and I think that had some to do with my gut problems, but I also had a intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and literally everything I ate just, I mean, immense pain, to the point where I was, some days, it was all I could do to get through work. I would like lay in my car on my lunch break in between seeing patients. It was a daily struggle, and I remember being so frustrated and just, you know, asking the Lord, why now? Like, I like these healthy foods and I can't even eat them. Like, I was so limited on what I could tolerate, and you know, ultimately now I see that process allowed me to learn and grow and become stronger and seek the Lord for my strength and my healing, and also to, you know, understand where others may have struggled and are struggling in these areas. So anyways, I will never take for granted again the fact that I can eat healthy, nourishing foods, and the fact that I can eat them and tolerate them and, you know, function at my best when I do. So anyhow, I hope that is helpful for you guys, and I hope you are having a wonderful Thursday. If there's any like comments, any like questions that you have, leave them for me in the comments. I would be happy to do a video on a specific topic if I can talk. Right now I'm just gonna kind of, you know, I pray about it every day and just kind of see what's going on and what kind of message I can share based on you know, what exactly is going through my mind about all these things throughout the day, and just kind of get on here and ramble and share my thoughts and see where the Lord leads. And so anyhow, that's all I have for today. Let me know, like I said, if you have anything else, and let me know if you're enjoying this, and I will talk to you guys soon.